Hey, this is Josh Keaton, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Oh my goodness!
You've just jumped inside the pull bag. Join TFG1Mike and the rest of the comic crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, and Image to IDW, Boom Studios, and Zenescope, we have everything right here. We cover things like Transformers, He-Man, superheroes, TMNT, and Radiant Black. Yeah, we have all that and so much more. It's all inside the pull bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. So, without further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we're reading right now, here inside the pull bag.
Hello and welcome to the pull bag. This is episode 527. I am, of course, TFG1Mike, and today we are going to be kill-locking it again because we have the Artisan Wraith now. Of course, I'm here with Ha-Hee Prime. Hello.
Heyo. Let us kill-lock.
Yes, kill-lock the Artisan Wraith. Oh boy, what a comic this is.
It is very much the Empire Strikes Back of this series.
Pretty much, yeah. So we got 6 issues here, and man, I'm loving the art. I love that. Yeah. I love the trade cover. I love the inside cover, how it's all just purple with the white text. That's so cool. And yeah, so...
yeah, he's got some good graphic designers working for him.
Yes, he does. So we start out with new characters that we have never seen before.
Who are totally not Tailgate and Cyclonus.
Well, we all know Nicole is Cyclonus, but I've never seen you as a Tailgate.
No, probably not.
No, probably not.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I think there's just this one particular part where I was just like, whoa, giving massive Tailgate Cyclonus vibes. I think it was when the Cred, what's his name? The Lurk was not having a good day.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much spoilery we're going to get, but yeah.
We'll probably talk about everything, most likely. It's been out for a while, I think, at this point.
Yeah, so we can just be like, guys, go read it.
Exactly.
Although I do sometimes, one of the reasons why I think these podcasts are valuable is I sometimes, frequently actually, will get a lot more out of a comic book or comic series along with or after listening to podcasts where people talk about it and bring up things that maybe I hadn't noticed or maybe hadn't seen with the same emphasis. And I always appreciate just listening to people really talk about books. And so it's fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody listening is like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Or yay, I like that too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole reason why we've been doing this for a decade. Hopefully people listen and enjoy what we say about it, and hopefully, like you said, it makes them go back and reread something to the point of, oh, hey, right, they pointed that out, but that went over my head kind of thing, because that happens to me all the time.
I know, huh?
So, yes, we have these new characters, and they're basically like, it's almost like a brand new comic. It is. It's continuing the story, but like we don't see the Artisan, we don't see any of the original characters that were in the first story. Like we see the Wraith, we see the Wraith's body here in these opening shots, but it's pretty much these two new characters whose names I forget off the top of my head.
The Resolve and the Lurk.
The Resolve and the Lurk. And, yeah, once again, Livio with his colors. Oh, man. This book is... I don't know how he gets it to be dark and colorful all at the same time.
That's interesting, because the thing I notice more than the colors, is the textures.
Yeah.
I think of it as, I'm like, honestly, I think of it as a fairly monochromatic book, even though obviously it does have bright colors. Mm-hmm. And, we can think of things where it's like, oh, dang, that one purple page or that one, but the colors are not what really hit for me, what really hits is just his bonkers textures.
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of fun that we each have hooked into different aspects of the art to really sink our teeth into.
Yeah, the scene.
But I do like how he uses color to tell story and set mood.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me with the background colors specifically, is how it sets up what is going on in the foreground with the characters. Like, I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but we have like the first, the first, let's say 21 pages or so where it's all like a green background kind of, or it's an all, like, it actually starts out different. It starts out with like a blue, but like I'm up to starting on page 15 of the trade, it starts the green background, and then by like page 23 it switches to a red background because it switches the area, and the background colors really bring out everything that's going on in the foreground.
Yeah, it helps you kind of keep your sense of place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Using that color language. Go Livio.
Yep, absolutely. And I didn't notice that, again, noticing things, because for me, when I'm reading this, I'm reading it to get the story. I'm not really, it's why I end up going through the comic in each episode of the podcast, so I can see things that I didn't notice before. Yeah. On one of the pages, which page 15, where the Resolve and the Lurk, where she says, "We require your footage. When I film, my mission is to document without judgment, even when I'm watching an army like the Legion do that to a planet." What I notice is the swirls on their faces, on the, like in the purple, there's two like swirly lines down her face, her helmet, or whatever. Same thing with the other character that's like the tan character that's next to it. There's these swirls in the armor, in the helmets, and that is really cool.
That's awesome. I am realizing that I only have the individual issues. I should have gotten them all out so that we wouldn't be subjected to crinkle, 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 crinkle. Perhaps we have a brief interlude of crinkle, 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 and I get them all out. I mean, I got them out, and then I was like, well, I can't even really refer to them because I'll be doing a lot of, flip-me-doos and crinkle crinkles. But I forgot about the fact that if you get them out of their little envelopes, they're not loud. Okay. We're going to remix this. It's going to be a cool EDM hit. Crinkle, crinkle, crinkle.
Yes, it is. Crinkle, crinkle. Okay. Crinkle, crinkle, crinkle.
Oh, man.
That's the beauty of digital comics, folks. I don't have to worry about crinkling pages.
But then you can't hold them and smell them and have Livio sign them.
That's true, but, yeah.
We just have to have this argument every time,
Well, it is what it is. I don't leave my house half the time, so I wouldn't have him. I would love to have, I'd love to mail it to, hey, sign this, please. But, yeah, there's no way I'm running into him at a convention or anything.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yep.
Can we talk about the designs of the Resolve and the Lurk? Because I think they're really interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Just, because Livio can do this thing where he'll come up with, basically child drawings. And, I don't say that to be mean. I'm saying, he has chosen this style of very kind of simplistic and imperfect sketches.
Yeah.
But he's really good at choosing wisely his shapes.
Yep.
So, the Lurk looks like a little rock man.
Yep.
And the Resolve is this tall, with kind of a flowing cape shape on her arms, and very much like a knight, like an old school knight, but like a fantasy version with a cape, and definitely like the just across the face eye slit. So very, very sort of futuristic robot knight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with this little short, kind of crunchy guy who is also just kind of short and crunchy in the way he talks too, and they have the way they communicate matches the way they are, not matches the way they're drawn, but like their looks and their personalities kind of support each other.
Yep. Yeah, it's the panel where they're talking to the guy with the footage.
I see what you're talking about. I remember when I was reading it, because I read it through when it first came out, and then I read it through again before we discussed it. And I remember coming to this page and going, "Whoa, shiny!" It's a neat way to just portray quickly that she's super shiny, yo.
Yeah. But the scene, as that scene progresses, the guy that they're trying to get the footage from, if there's one thing I'm not objective about, it's actively helping assassins. And the Lurk is like, "Careful, son. We operate on a full authority from the Forgers." And she doesn't like that word. I hear Casey Kasem Cliffjumper in my head. like when Cliffjumper would get angry, or no, Gears. When Gears didn't, when Gears had his emotion chip before he had it taken out. When Gears was really, really angry in Generation 1. That's what I hear when I read the Lurk saying stuff like that.
Yeah, you can definitely imagine him with kind of that accent and that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, this first issue is just so good.
Yeah, and it's so my experience, of getting this series an issue at a time was interesting in that, I'm really looking forward to, reading more about these characters that I've come to, absolutely love and know, and like they are real little dudes. And then I was, my first response was, "Gosh dang it, Livio, how dare you?" I'm like, I didn't come here to read about these weirdos. And then by the end of it, you're like, I also love them. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah, like
that's good. That's good writing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can create a whole universe on almost anything. Mm-hmm. He introduced us to 4, 5, 6 characters or more than that, but the main characters, 4, 5, or 6 of them, and then now we get these 2 new characters. We kind of get the Wraith dude here, and yeah, I mean, it's just so great that the story is progressing in a way that you didn't really, you expect to, if you leave a previous story on a cliffhanger, you expect sort of like, hey, this is what happened last time on this episode of blah, blah, blah. And then you pick up but no, this is like, hey, look, this is still the Kill Lock. You still see the Wraith, but these are 2 new characters that we want you to get to know and get to love. And pretty much, I mean, they're cool. I like them. Yeah.
I will say I very much enjoyed the meta aspect of when at the very end of issue 1, you finally go to the planet where the Artisan Wraith is, and you see that font that you know what it means. You know it means the Wraith is talking. And it feels like it's Livio talking to the reader.
Oh, absolutely.
Along with, just, and so there you are, you selfish jerk. And like, it's wonderful to see you again. And I'm like, yeah, good job. Because that's totally Livio talking to us, and us kind of talking to the Wraith, the Artisan Wraith. And he's just talking to the moon. And at that point, it's like almost let down. I was like, we were having this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly. And this is why I'm glad I waited for the trade, because if I read this in single issues, I would be pulling my hair out waiting for the next. I'm just glad I can turn the page and and go to the next part of the story, issue 2. Yeah, issue 1 was a nice... Story-wise, it's a nice setup of the new characters. We get to a point where we see the old character, or at least one of them kind of thing at the end. And it's a nice introduction to what this story is going to be and what this story is going to focus on.
Yeah.
So issue 2, let's see here. We start off with...
I actually love this character a lot.
Yeah.
He's like basically carrying... Basically, the first character you get introduced to in issue 2 is this, just the block character.
Yeah.
And he's this big, just very geometric, simple shapes dude who's carrying sort of a doll, but then you find out later it is not a doll, it's a piece of his friend. And just, I love the introduction, want money for gamble. We'll kill anything for money for gamble. And I'm like, never mind, I love this dude.
Yep.
And everybody else is like, why do you bring him? He's, they're like, well, he will stand in front of things. We're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then he's all, we'll die before stop gamble. And I'm like, oh, dude, you just signed your death warrant, sir.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the way the negotiations are happening, like friend come or no go, and okay, fine. Yeah, it's just so good.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was like, what are you talking about? But yeah, the fact that he's like, I'm not leaving my little poor piece of dead dude behind. He is my emotional support doll.
Yep, everyone needs a friend.
Yep. So dark.
So dark. And then we get to them being at whatever place this is.
Don't they have... So here's a question I have. There's a second character that they recruit, the one with the finger needles.
Uh-huh.
And they look so much like the Resolve that sometimes I would get a little confused the first time through.
Yeah.
But they're very similar. They're kind of another knight looking character.
Yeah,
but I don't remember what class they are. But
I don't either, and I'm trying to find it, but I know
I'm looking too.
I do not remember. Let's see here. I haven't met a class that didn't burn screaming from the inside when exposed to it. That is... Wait a minute.
No, that's him saying, I have this horrible poison on these syringes.
Right.
That he bought.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't know anything about this character.
Yeah.
Like, the introduction of the block, I'm like, oh, I know that guy. That guy lives in my brain now.
Yep.
And this other character is much more nebulous.
Yeah. I don't think we get a true introduction to him. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
Huh,
but
weird.
The idea that the Wraiths have these little tiny crevices at the edge of their eye, face, shine...
Yeah. The slits, the slits.
That's
in the eyes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
The introduction of a possible weakness or a possible weak point.
Yep, absolutely.
It's very Star Wars. It's so funny to watch Livio just be like, I'll take that from Star Wars and I'll take that from Star Wars. I'm not faulting him for that. It's just kind of adorable.
Absolutely. No, it's not a fault. It's more of a like, hey, we recognize that.
Yeah.
Take these two torpedoes and blow up the Death Star.
Yep. Yep.
You got one shot, kid. Now let's blow this pop stand and go home.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I hadn't realized how big the block is until he walks up to the Wraith and he's way taller than the Artisan Wraith.
Yeah.
He does absolutely get destroyed with one finger, but I was like, oh, dang, you are a large boy.
Yes. Very much so.
And then we are reminded that artisans are terrifying.
Yes, they are. Especially in the Wraith's body.
Yeah. You just do a death
party. Yeah, it's party time for him.
Yeah.
The one thing I miss in this is actually the artisan himself. Like, I know he's here. I know he's, kind of in the driver's seat of the Wraith body, but I miss that design of the artisan himself. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying I kind of miss seeing that because that was a very, very cool design. I don't think I've seen a design like that.
It is a cool design. And I also felt like, I miss seeing my buds. Where are my buds? And so I was glad at the end of this when you finally, or at the end of issue 2.
Yep.
When you finally kind of get to see them all sort of ghosting around by this sort of ghost lake.
Yeah, it's kind of like going, back in the memories, or kind of like how... Did you ever read Transformers Galaxies, the first 4 issues of Transformers, the Constructicons Rising issues?
Yes.
Okay,
I cannot remember the details of that story.
All right, well, it's fine. I just want to make sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally.
In that, each of the individual 6 Constructicons have their own personality. Mm-hmm. When they go to combine to form Devastator, it's kind of like this, where the Artisan Wraith could be in the driver's seat, or the kid could be in the driver's seat, or whatever the other characters were. I don't remember the other character, but that's kind of the same thing in with the Constructicons, where Bone Crusher could be in the you have this 7th personality, but you have the 6th Constructicons actually piloting Devastator kind of thing. And that's what I'm thinking here with the Wraith body, because it's essentially a body. Even though there's a personality to it, the artisan has taken it over completely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you have the original characters from the first volume all inside of this giant armored body, and it's so cool. Like the lake pages that you're talking about, I'm assuming that's the inside of the Wraith. And
like it's their shared mindscape.
Yep.
I imagine.
Yep.
And that's why you see the artisan sort of talking to them as just a face in the sky, and with this huge font, so you can hear his voice booming out across this sort of vast empty mindscape, and you get a sense of how much more powerful he is.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is literally just sitting around. I mean, except for the kid who's running around because he has wiggles. But yeah. Also, the kid is the only one still trying to improve himself. The Wraith is just sitting there. Mm-hmm. The labor class is still trying to use his, I'm going to talk to you and we're going to try to I'm going to try to use my people skills to get what I need. And the kid is just running and trying to get faster. And he's like, hey, I'm faster than yesterday, Mm-hmm. And it is interesting that they all have different responses to their powerlessness.
Yeah. And that's the way they are so powerless inside this giant body of power with the armor of what the Wraith's body is. And what I find interesting, you're talking about the kid, how he's running around continuing to improve himself, and all the other characters are just kind of sitting there. The artisan's doing, his, I don't want to say egotistical, but I'll say egotistical behavior. He's doing, he's being the artisan that he is. But the kid, what I liked about issue 2 and seeing them on the inside of this armored whatever with the Wraith is that all the adults in the room don't care about improving themselves.
Yeah.
The kid wants to continue to grow and improve himself because he's still a kid. I am 43 years old. I've gone through some major crap in the last 2 years, and I have zero interest in a lot of things in general, but like, I'm not putting any effort into anything I don't want to do. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going, you know what I mean? Like, just those everyday, like, yeah, I know I can still learn stuff. I could still learn crafts. I could still do this. I could still do that. I could still learn new skills and everything else. But I'm more focused now on the skills that I've gotten in the last 15 years of podcasting than I am on doing anything else in the world, because the person that I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with is no longer here. It's been 2 years this November, and I just don't. So that's the interesting thing for me, looking at the adults versus the kid in this second issue, where they're just all kind of sitting around.
Yeah.
But the kid is up and moving and doing and wanting to, and that's good because he's a kid. He still needs to learn. He still needs to get life lessons. I'm not saying as an adult I'm not going to still learn things or whatever else. I just choose not to right now.
That's a good catch, Mike. Like, and part of it is, I get the sense from the storytelling that kids or unfinished have not settled into a certain class yet.
Right.
Whereas all of the adults have settled in, have become a class, and so they have, a defined purpose. Like you're saying, my purpose right now is to be a podcaster. So to super simplify things, you have settled into the podcaster class, and you're like, I'm going to be a great podcaster. Whereas the kid would be more someone who hasn't figured out who they are yet.
Yeah.
And so just kind of still that sort of pinballing around between different ideas, and it's interesting to see that contrast. Good catch with the adult versus kids thing.
Yeah, because I mean, you see the one big panel in this before the 2 pages that end the issue. You see the Wraith and the kid sitting there, and then the kid is up and around, but you just see the Wraith sitting there, and he's got his shoulders slumped, he's got his legs kind of whatever. And the kid is kind of sitting there too, but the kid is like, I wonder, what can I do to further myself versus,
That's interesting. I interpreted it completely differently. Because I interpreted it as, I'm not saying you're not valid. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I interpret it as he runs around, he's like, yay, I got better. And then he just sees that the Wraith is not responding and is just feeling sad. So this is him learning emotional intelligence of, you know what? Okay, now I'm just going to sit and be with you as you grieve.
Yeah. And I agree with you. But that's still self-improvement on his part. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
We get to issue 3 and your favorite cover.
Yeah.
I wonder when he did this. As far as like in the story when the kid did that drawing, because that's
I found that out.
Oh, did you?
Because, and here was what was trippy. Our kid didn't do that art. And now I'm gonna have to flip around and do stuff. There's maybe when we get there I'll remember, but there's a whole bunch. Oh yeah, okay. That is a drawing of the Artisan Wraith done by, he's got like a kindergarten on his planet now.
Yeah.
And because he, is part our Wraith, he loves them. And so they're constantly, there's this one panel kind of right in the middle of the issue where there's a bunch of little kids and they're literally crawling all over the Artisan Wraith, and they're all showing him pictures they've drawn. And one of the pictures is the one that's on the cover.
Oh, right. That is so cool. Yeah, I just found that page. Wow. That is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things where, you see a comic book cover and you think you know the characters that have been there before, and you think, oh, the kid drew that, and it's somebody else's hand touching the, yeah. So issue 3,
can I just vent really fast about why I love this cover so much?
Sure.
Because we know I love bad guys, right? And bad guys with hearts inside. But this is such a powerful image because it's exactly like if you saw a little adorable kid drawing with hearts all over it of the Joker or just any sort of villain that we know as horrible, unpredictable, selfish, and bad. Mm-hmm. And yet the kids are, we assume it's our kid because he does know that the Wraith is great. But the fact that the kids are able to see that this character is not just evil chaos.
Yeah.
And anyway, I love this cover.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, as you were.
No, you're right. I mean, absolutely. You put any kind of character in there that yeah, absolutely. It's all about that hero worship or that villain worship, whichever you choose to do.
It's just a startling image.
Mm-hmm. And then the Resolve and the Lurk.
The Lurk.
They get a message from their bosses.
Wait, no, I think it's them trying to. Yeah, they're sending out a message, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, because they figure out a way. They do some quick hot wiring of the satellite's broadcast system and transmit to the Wraith Legion.
Yeah. And they're talking to Legion Envoy and Legion Viscount.
Which, one of the things I appreciated about Livio's commentary tracks that he did, mm-hmm. that was the most helpful to me, was the way he really brought out these two's different personalities and focuses, because mm-hmm. that hadn't come through to me in the comic. Mm-hmm. And so, maybe that's a weakness. Maybe that's a weakness in me of not just picking up on subtleties. But I really appreciated hearing Livio's take on these guys and how, I cannot keep straight, but one of them is I think it's Envoy is the ground, and one of them sky.
Yeah, so Legion Envoy, top military enforcer among an army of military enforcers, commander of their ground forces. So that's Envoy. Mm-hmm. And then Viscount, what passes for diplomacy and communication to outside parties, deemed worthy, commander of their sky forces. So Envoy is the ground, Viscount is the sky.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like if I'm trying to think. Starscream is, the king of the Seekers, and
yeah, or just I think of them as generals.
Yeah. Oh God.
What?
Oh God. One of them is Strika, and the other is Obsidian.
Yep. True.
There you go.
The Wraith Legion.
Oh boy, it wouldn't be a pullback episode without Transformers references, folks.
Yep. And gender bending. I love this a lot. Okay.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what I don't think it is said what their genders are. I don't think they even say it to I don't think Livio writes in which Viscount and Envoy. I don't know. All as I know is that the Resolve is a female and the Lurk is a male. Yeah. I think. I could be wrong about that.
I'm pretty sure they use pronouns.
Yeah, and that's fine. I've always wanted to know if they're, we always have pronouns. Are there negative nouns?
Oh my gosh, Mike. You're kicked off the podcast.
It's my podcast. How can you kick me off of that? so they have a conversation with these Wraith people. We will attempt to argue this matter on your behalf, because they're wanting to have an audience, or because they want to be able to find the Artisan Wraith. I think that's what that was all about.
Okay, hang on. I'm trying to remember. There's another Star Wars reference. This Resolve class that's super powerful, kneeling to the Wraith projections, very, very much like Darth Vader kneeling to the Emperor. So this is the Resolve saying, hey, I found the Artisan Wraith, and basically because she brought in a team to destroy him and they got destroyed, she's now saying, okay, Wraiths, you need to take care of your dude.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. And
seeing if there's anything interesting.
I'd say the appearance of the Artisan Wraith is interesting.
How so? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, so we go from where the Lurk says they're going to release us from service soon. That's when I'm going to build my farm, and then she and I are finally going to be away from all you mucks. Just a few more jobs, and then we get to live free.
Yeah.
And you believed them? Blah, blah, blah. So it's the next page where he says, your protector comes to visit. And it's this big looming image of the Artisan Wraith with a reminds me of was it Revenge of the Fallen? Whichever movie Megatron had the
Dark of the Moon, yeah.
Yeah, that was Dark of the Moon, that's right. So yeah.
Yeah. That is one area where I felt actually like the writing was a little heavy-handed, where Livio makes sure you understand that the Artisan Wraith is wearing a cape, which is a kiddish thing to do. He drinks now, which is the influence of the labor class. Yep. And showing that these souls within him are influencing him. And I'm like, I get it, Livio, I can tell. But I feel like we should not totally skip over this scene where the Resolve runs into the Axial, and you find out that she has the capacity for sarcasm, which is really funny because there's this happy little labor class guy who's like, hey, friends, welcome to this great utopia we have, and introduces the Resolve to the Axial, and the Resolve's just like, oh my gosh, hands to mouth, like, wonderful new friend, and then just absolutely just throws the Axial at the wall because she's like, you created the kill lock. And the Resolve is another survivor of the kill lock by doing exactly what the Artisan Wraith has done by taking her three counterparts, little sparks, for lack of a better word. I know there's a different word, but I can't think of it, and putting them into herself. Yeah. And it was a really painful process that you see at the beginning of issue 1. And she's just like, I am not a fan of the kill lock at all. And yeah, it's interesting too, because doesn't our Wraith tell the Axial, you know what, actually this was a good system, this kill lock thing? Yeah. And I was like, whoa.
So he says, I haven't set off fireworks for the town in a while, so they might enjoy the show. And she asks him, is the kid all right? And he says to her, and so the Axial's heart shows up to the conversation. Did you ever even see Scoria? And so they have that conversation, and and then the Resolve says, a kid, period, not a question mark, a statement. So the Resolve says, a kid, and then she and the Axial have a conversation, which is really nice. So the conversation, I feel like I have to read this because it's just so good. So the resolve says, a kid, the forgers didn't tell you, of course they didn't. The resolve class do their homework, but the forgers provide only the material they want you to study. The artisan has a young unfinished in there. The drunk is a labor class. And
I love
the lurk. I didn't sign up to kill no drunk.
Yeah, that is really good. Good catch on the forgers provide only the material they want you to study when you do your homework. I really hadn't caught the full impact of that phrase before.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, no, I know you do your research, but you basically have the great firewall around what you can Google. There's a limit to what they let you find out about your target.
And the resolve asks, why did you come here? The group the artisan was linked to, the wraith, the laborer, the kid, they came to me for escape. I sent them into a horror when I learned they had a kid with them. I did everything I could to help to save the kid. But in doing so, I gave the artisan all he needed to take that body. So really, it's all the Axial's fault.
Well, the Axial is a character that seems to take on that sense of fault.
Right.
Because she's already kind of left society after feeling like her kill lock invention has not been what she had hoped. Yep. And now she feels like, because the next panel, she's like, for years I let logic blind me from compassion, and this last time I let compassion blind me from logic. And so she's feeling now responsible for what happened to the group that she sent to the horrible everybody comes here dies planet.
You know what I just realized based on this page? I've met so many who wore the mark that I helped to make. The cover, it's her hand. It's the Axial's hand on the child's drawing. Because if you look at this page...
Yeah, good catch. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
That's good.
That is cool. Well, she's also dealing with the fact, so we know that the artisan/artisan wraith is really good at getting at people's weak spots.
Yep. And
so back previous page when the Axial is like, is the kid all right? He responds basically, oh yeah, you know that horror planet you sent us to? The kid is the only one that saw the mass grave. I have him here. He's safe. Just really sticking the knife into her. Like, yeah, you sent a kid to this horrible planet, and he had the worst experience of seeing the mass grave.
Yeah, exactly. And we get back inside the Wraith's body with all the characters, and the drunk is apparently skipping stones.
Mm-hmm. Trying to get the attention of...
And the artisan's like, will you knock that the fuck off? Oh, sorry, is that distracting? Our kill lock is frozen while we're in this body. All I need to do is pull out your processor and drop it in my drink. That's a line.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that's real.
Again, I wasn't... So, at the start of this series, I was not sure, because we were being introduced to the Resolve and the Lurk. I wasn't sure how the previous characters were going to come into the story, and how they've come into the story, and how Livio has given them to us with this kind of like mental insight of these personalities in this body. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I get so sad because the labor class becomes a character that I really, really love, because I identify with his way of going through the world of, I'm going to form emotional connections with people and get what I need that way.
Yep.
And so where he ends up at the end, I only hope that he's doing it to be in a position where he can still help, and not that he's just doing it because he feels like, hey, this person will give me free drinks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
You're my favorite dude.
Yep. And then everything goes red.
Mm-hmm.
And we meet the Zenith.
With a dead person's arm stuck to him.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh wait, no, that's not the Zenith. That's the Viscount.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Ground forces dude, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's the Viscount.
So that's why he's got guts on him.
Oh.
No, yeah, so we meet the Zenith basically holding up the Iron Giant's like limbs chopped off body with one hand, just being like, hey, big giant dead guy, I'm just kind of waiting for you to die. I'm doing you this honor of holding you up while you die.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Man.
It's a really dark image.
It is. And the way this ends, oh my god. The way it's not funny, but he says, rouse the Legion from this world of ash. We leave now. And it's all these Legion ships with basically the Wraith face as the windows for the... Yeah. That's a cool image.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the coolest just design ideas, is that you get the sense that everything Wraith is run and powered by this sort of sunfire within them.
Yep.
And so it's almost like those aren't windows, those are slits into the like nuclear power source that runs the ships. And I mean, they also feel like windows. Otherwise, I'm like, I don't know how you guys see out of these rocks, these big floating stalactites, but yeah, it's just a cool idea of a, for lack of a better word, robot character.
Yeah.
But I really get the sense that they are armor over like lava.
Oh, absolutely they are. Same thing with the Wraith body. It's armor over lava with the Wraith face, and the fact that depending on which person like we mentioned when the Artisan took back in episode 490 of the show when we did the first one, when the Artisan took over the body, the Wraith's face went from the fire orange and red to purple because apparently the Artisan likes purple, which is fine with me. It
really feels like being polluted by dark energy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, shall we go to issue 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's do it.
So we start with then. So this is in the past. Show yourself. You think I'd visit this shitty lake if I didn't have to? I know you've been watching me. Show yourself. And when I'm not on assignment, that is, you've been trying to kill me. I've been told to kill you. There's no trying to kill when you're Resolve class.
Yeah.
So this is the Lurk and the Resolve, and kind of like their first. It's showing us their first meeting, I think, or one of their first meetings.
I'm pretty sure it's their first time they talk to each other, because it's the Resolve saying, I can tell that a cloaker is hunting me. And the cloaker is like, yeah, I was told to kill you because the forgers found out that you survived the kill lock, and they can't ignore that. And the Resolve, instead of saying, and this is before she's Resolve class, this is just when she is a kill lock survivor of I don't know what class. She's like, I want to become a Resolve class like you.
Yeah.
Will you train me? So she's basically asking the hitman hired to kill her to take her on as an apprentice. And I'm like,
pretty much.
That's awesome. And I think that's why he instantly just likes her. He's like, okay, you're fun.
Yep. And then we get to now. So we get to the present. Do these lines look crooked. So he's drawing something. And it apparently is the symbol of the Wraithiest.
Yeah, I remember it from the last series. There would be people who there's like that grandma character on the planet that's been just, destroyed by the Wraith Legion.
Right.
And she has drawn a Wraithiest symbol on her door.
Right.
And so it feels like sort of that resistance graffiti that you'll see in war zones of, down with the Nazis or whatever, but it feels like we dare to have a sign that says we are against the Wraith Legion.
Right.
I mean, obviously we find out that's not what it is at all, but that's what it feels like. And so it feels like the Lurk is drawing this because they know that the Wraith Legion is on their way to come to this planet, and they're like, well, about to die. Might as well get this out of our system.
Yeah, absolutely.
It even says that neither of them really understand what that means.
Yeah, and that's good that Livio has the characters point them out. Like, we're just drawing this on ourselves for protection. At least we think it's for protection.
Yeah.
And then they find out later what it actually is, and it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah. I know, huh? It's like, oh. But I just now caught this. This is interesting. So the Lurk has drawn a Wraithiest symbol on his left chest.
Yep.
And it's like, here, I'll draw one on you. And the Resolve is like, heck no, I'm done with having marks on me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because that's going to do some serious kill lock PTSD.
Oh, absolutely. Once you have the kill lock on you, you don't want any other tattoos.
Yeah.
The kill lock is everyone's last tattoo.
Yeah.
We probably I shouldn't be laughing at that, but it's kind of true.
I love this philosophy that the Lurk has of, he's talking to the Axial.
Yeah.
And just kind of saying, yeah, the Resolve does hate you. The Killock was miserable, and she basically, had some meltdown when she was deactivating it. And I love what he says. Yeah, she's got a right to hate you, but, I've done a lot of terrible stuff. Lots of people have. You just got to make sure your terrible stuff isn't the most terrible stuff being done. What profound logic. But that's such a good insight into his character. Like, you get another sense that he's another, character who's done bad things but still has a heart and is still trying to be the goodest person that he can be.
Yeah.
And has had to shut down a lot of morality because he's just had to do a lot of killing. And he's like, okay, so my anchor is I'm not being the worst person in the world. I'm like, okay, bro.
Well, I mean, like, we all have things in our lives that everybody makes mistakes. The path that they are on even though she doesn't like the word, as assassins,
yep,
that's wrong. Absolutely, it is wrong, and no one should be assassinating anyone. But at the same time, you have a character like the Wraith who basically comes to a planet, stomps his foot, and he's a planet killer. He's he's the friggin' Death Star in robot form.
Yep.
Kind of thing. So my point is that just because sometimes I may have an opinion that nobody agrees with, or just because I may have made a mistake in my life, most of the time, except in some of these instances because they are killers, some mistakes you can come back from, some mistakes you can't come back from. Mm-hmm. But there's always going to be something worse. Yeah. There's always going to be something better in the future at some point or another. At least we hope there is. But I mean, I don't know. It's a tough tough balance beam
Yeah.
to be on, especially in this world where you have all of these different, like, between the forgers and the wraiths and the this and the, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a fun world to be exploring and reading and getting this cool story. Like, this is what I wish certain company, insert whatever you want, Hasbro, whatever, Marvel, whatever, like, come up with a new. This is why I wish certain, like, TV networks would invent new like stuff like this. I would love to see this as an animated series. The previous volume and this would be, but you would have to keep Livio's style of
boy,
but it would be so cool to see this in animation.
Yeah.
But that's
something
never going to happen.
Unique and new and
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I like comics the most, that I can come to. Yes, we have the Transformers comics. Yes, we have the whatever. We have the Batmans. We have the G.I. Joe, the whatever. We have all the stuff in comics, but we also have comics that create new stories. And TV shows and movies don't really rely on. A lot of them don't rely on new stories. A lot of them rely on the pre-existing.
Not the last while, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to Protector. They are here. The Artisan Wraith just kind of looks back. Nice to finally meet you. I know you can hear me. I trust your trip was... Boom.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, what were we expecting? Although it is a cool image, and I truly had not noticed this, so it's nice that Livio brought it up. The little shields that go up over the little city areas.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
It's like, he's not just letting all of his guys die.
Yeah. And again, the change in color where characters are, where the shield part is, where the shields go up, it's all like green and stuff.
Yeah. I love that there's this guy who's just named Orange Guy.
Mm-hmm.
the little sort of, what would you call it? Like IT dude who's running the shields. He comes up to the Artisan Wraith and he's like, hey, just so you know, the shields are holding, Protector. And the Artisan Wraith is like, Orange Guy, I know you're trying to help. I'm like, on the one hand, that's such an artisan thing to, have an agenda, but not really know people as individuals, because he doesn't really care. They're tools. Exactly. They're tools in his tool shed. He's very Tony Stark in that way. Yeah. I love where he says, were you able to get some sleep? I worry about you sometimes. I'm sorry. I just saw the overnight they used the smoke. They knew how to use the smoke. They meant to bomb too much and use the smoke to overload the sensors. Oh, boy. Yeah. You know what, though? That undoes what I just said about he doesn't really care about people. Because he does. He's like, hey, were you able to get some sleep? I worry about you. And then also he does say, Orange Guy, I know you're trying to help and I appreciate it. So maybe it's, once again, the influence of the other characters in his soul that he does actually care about people. He just can't be bothered to remember their names. Yeah, exactly. I bet his name is not Orange Guy. It is now. It is now. But yeah, so just the report that the Wraith Legion has managed to land and tunnel through and get into some of the shielded areas. And they're about to come where, oh man, they're just ripping through a bunch of poor little guys. It's like, it's like Megatron always used to say, cannon fodder. Oh, boy. Yeah, they're ripping through a lot of them. Wow. Yeah. But then it's a good just very artisan way of delivering this next bit. He's like, hey, Orange Guy, in the fictional future I'm imagining for you, if you can, try to stockpile 2 great inventions. So they've just had their cities tunneled into and everybody's getting eviscerated. And he says, now tell the labor class to bring the gravity plexus online, target the ships and pull them to the ground. And so he's basically saying, yeah, but now I'm going to make my next move and take out all their ships. Yep. And that's going to change the tide of the battle again, just when it looked like they were about to absolutely get creamed. He's like, yeah, okay, and I take down all your ships. Okay, yeah, so he's like, they're not going to bomb where I am because they don't want to hurt the Wraith's body.
Right.
But he's trying to talk to the Legion Envoy and the Legion Viscount.
Yep.
So that they can tell the Zenith to chill, because he's like, and he uses the emotional blackmail of, you guys are going to be marooned here on a dead world while the galaxy continues to spin out of control as innocents continue to die. So he's basically like, you guys, let's talk. I can pull all of your ships to the ground and then you'll be stuck here.
Yep.
It's cool. It's cool to just watch him be. That was one of the things that was so real about the Artisan, is that he just is this scrawny little guy, but with terrifying power and understanding of the world. And this is basically another instance of the Artisan understanding how things work and being able to just destroy them.
Yeah.
So anyway, cool stuff.
Absolutely it is. And we get him and the Viscount and the other guys talking, and man, we even see the resolve here too.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, we better not skip this. It's just no. It's like Armageddon, right?
Yeah, pretty much all around them.
The fact that these two characters that we know are incredibly powerful are just kind of huddled next to a wall, holding each other and saying, that thing that you say when you know you're going to die, like, yeah, we'll be home soon and you can sleep in your chair. And the Axial kind of catching them and being like, oh man, like, I'm having feelings. But that's just a very good, quick way to show that this is Armageddon level serious.
Yep, absolutely. And what I love is the issue kind of ends on the inside of the Artisan inside of the Artisan Wraith, where as all this Armageddon is going on the outside, where they say, the Legion will accompany you to the Homeworld. The Legion will kill the Forgers. And we go inside the Artisan Wraith, and we see...
Oh, yeah.
The Wraith that's in there say, no.
Yeah, just like stand up and just...
Yep.
Yeah.
So even though our characters from the last one, the Artisan, the kid, the laborer, even though they took over the Wraith body, the Wraith personality is still in the body. He's just not in the driver's seat when the Artisan is.
Yeah. Yeah. He's sort of abdicated for a little while. Now you see him kind of being like poked enough to take an action. The storytelling here is so interesting because it keeps upending what you think is going to happen.
Right.
Like, you think he's just kind of trying to take out the Wraith Legion or something, but no, he's like, hey, my bargaining chip is I'll give you back your Wraith.
Yeah.
But then I need you to do for me. He basically says, I want you to kill the Forgers. They were your allies, but then they started asking you to kill children.
Yep.
Which he knows because he's got, the Wraith in him.
Yeah.
And just the manipulation of, your brother wants to come back to you, he whispers to me.
Yep.
And he manages to get them to agree to take out the Forgers. In return, for getting the Wraith back.
Yep.
You know, without and to have him be, you know, uncontaminated or undesecrated again. But the fact that, you know, you see this and it seems like, yeah, this would be great. You know, we don't really like the Forgers. They do, you know, they give people a kill lock and they seem to be just this really hyper controlling fascist, like, guys who just tell the armies where to go and not good people. And so to have the Wraith, our Wraith, have his response to be like, no! You're like, wait, what? There's a lot of wait, what? In this.
Yeah, there's very a lot of wait.
Storytelling. It's great. All right, I'm opening up issue 5, which has a cool cover.
Yeah, it has the two. It has the Viscount and the Envoy on there, and that's kind of where we start. We start with them.
And it's so funny because I say Viscount because Livio says Viscount, but I always was saying Viscount. And so now I'm doing that thing of like, after this, I'm going to Google how to pronounce this word because I thought I was right. This is a total side story, but I got in an argument with my youngest, who's 14, because I said fungi, and he was just like, wait, what? He's like, no, it's fungi.
Yeah, it's
and I'm
fungi.
like, I'm pretty sure that there are a ton of valid pronunciations for that word. And so I go on like a, you know, dictionary delve, and I'm like, see, you can say fungi, you can say fungi, you can say fungi, you can say fungi. And they're like, this is all the etymological, like, origins for all these different pronunciations, and they're all valid. And I'm like, yeah, see, I can do what I want. It's just really funny to get in arguments over semantics. Okay. Legion. They're about to do cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Long has he demonstrated great care for his army. He saw in me value, though I am a rare, weak of our kind. That's interesting.
It's so... he's so good at having somebody say like a few words and have it be like, oh, I'm having feelings.
Yep.
Because this guy, and I truly can't keep him straight. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's okay. It's one of the...
He's the sky dude, but I can't remember what it...
That's Viscount. That's
Thank
Viscount.
you.
Yeah.
And he says he's weak, and I'm like, why are you weak? You're a huge dude. But then I realized he does have the smallest amount of sort of face light piping.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, maybe he doesn't have quite as strong of a sun inside his tummy or something.
And the Envoy says, nothing of you is weak save for your last utterance.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, they're bros.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh well, that's what I'm a slave to. Big, strong, tough guys being like, also I have feelings.
Yep. When they look to their zenith, bring to me your true voices.
Oh yeah, I love that moment too of the zenith being like, hey, I can see that you guys are concerned. I need you to talk to me, tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And that makes you trust the zenith more, that he is not just a dictator, but that he is close with his generals and values their advice.
Yep.
And they are concerned about the directions that he's taking.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so we got that.
just you're watching these members of the Wraith Legion talk, and the way they talk in this elevated, sort of medieval font, and then having someone in the same font show up and be like, yeah, seriously, I mean, look at this crap that's been happening to your Wraith, dude. I'm like, that's so... It's the having the artisan walk around in a Wraith body, it really is like someone just going around pooping in a church.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
To
I deserve a medal for even being able to tell you guys apart. Cease all banality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh boy, good old Artisan.
Yep.
The Legion arrives at the Homeworld.
Yep.
Dun dun dun. Space, a bunch of bullshit if you ask me.
This is another bit where the storytelling is a little bit clunky to me, where it's basically people just lampshading stuff. So it's the lurk being like, and the resolve saying, you know, we haven't been to the Homeworld in so long we don't necessarily even, or at least the lurk may not even remember what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he says, why did they even bring us on board? And the resolve guesses that it's because they know we aren't aligned with the Artisan Wraith. And then another thing is lampshaded where the lurk is like, hey, why are these bodies here? And it's the artisan's body, the kid's body, and the laborer's body just kind of lying there on these rocks in this cave ship thing. And then you see the axial kind of looking over them. And so it's basically saying, yes, I put all of these characters into one room. They are going to remark upon it. This is the reasoning they're going to give. It's kind of weak because they don't really understand what's going on. But it felt it just felt a little bit clunky right there. Yeah. I don't know how you would do it better because you've got to tell this story quickly.
Yep.
But I was just like, okay, I am now aware that all of these chess pieces, that's what it is. It feels like saying, this is where these chess pieces are. Instead of kind of an organic, and they all happen to wander in here. But we know that they are chess pieces in the Artisan's game, so.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
The Artisan is the ultimate chess master in this in this universe.
But there's just, the axial is looking out and seeing just a bunch of dead kids on the ground. There's also a bunch of dead artisans.
Yep.
And it's interesting that they're so, what's the word? What's the word for when there's colored-only drinking fountains? But like they're segregated. There we go. They're all segregated.
Oh,
holy cow!
Oh my god! I'm like colored
like, wait, how did we go here? So, but there's just a pile of only dead artisans and a pile of only dead kids.
Yeah, because the forgers. It's another
sign of how this is just kind of a messed up society where it's like you're this caste, you stay with these people.
Yeah, I mean it's very similar to how. So the forgers are the overlords. They decide who's what class or who's whatever class, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're this, you're that, blah, blah, blah. It's very similar to IDW Cybertron.
Yeah.
Where you have certain class. I remember there were. Oh, God. What is it? There used to be a class system on Cybertron. I think it was under Nova Prime. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, that's what it is. It's a class system. So, of course, you're not going to put the artisan dead bodies with the kid dead bodies because they want to make sure that you know, look, these are different classes of these people.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't even thought of it that way. I assumed it was that the only people in this area of explosion were artisans, and the only people in this area of explosion were kids.
Maybe it's that. I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll just be like, Livio, what did you mean? But
exactly.
For some reason, even though it's a huge splash page, because we have been surrounded by just explosions and horribleness this whole time, it doesn't land for me as a big surprise when they come to the Homeworld and it's just completely destroyed. It was just like, well, I mean, Wraiths, of course it's a destroyed place. And it didn't really hit for me until like way later. I'm like, oh, They got to the Homeworld and everybody was already dead and they were surprised. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why that didn't hit for me, but it didn't.
Well, because again, you're expecting the Homeworld, you're expecting the Forgers to have this utopian society, even though they split up all the people into class systems.
Yeah.
You're expecting this to be, And then they bring in the Artisan Wraith, the Wraith Triumvirate. Oh, great. Oh, boy. Yeah, I think the Resolve and the Axial are my two favorite characters in this.
It's interesting. It's hard for me to choose because I end up liking all of them.
Well, yes, but where the Resolve started out to where she ends up versus also where the Axial started out in the previous series and where she is now.
Yeah. There's a lot. Livio is good at characterization in a few words and images.
Absolutely, he is.
Yeah. All right. I'm going forward to where it's basically the Lurk and the Axial kind of wandering around trying to figure out what the heck happened.
Yeah.
And finding the advanced weapon design, artisan entry only, and the Resolve's like, ooh, hey, Christmas. I'm going to go grab me some guns.
Yep. Absolutely. And yeah, so they go grab the guns, and let's see here, where are we?
Well, then it's the Artisan Wraith talking to the Axial, and talking to her as an equal. Like, no, hey, we're engineers, and we're scientists, and basically so he's basically saying, Axial, I'm going to have you put everyone's chip back into their body.
Yep.
And saying, yeah, I know, the kill lock's going to reactivate. I'm counting on it. A little insurance policy to make sure you don't get sloppy during surgery and accidentally drop my chip into the trash can.
Yeah.
Interesting use of your little horror creation, right? As a way of ensuring life.
Yeah. Exactly.
And he's even trying to get her on his side. Like, hey, I'm trying to make a better world that's fairer. And just trying to recruit the Axial, which is gutsy. But that's just how he thinks. He's like, people are tools. How can I use them?
Yep, pretty much. And then as this issue kind of comes to a close, the Artisan gets his eye blown out.
Oh, man, yeah, that was creepy. Well, so, we see it again, the Viscount and Envoy talking via hologram, that they're still uneasy, like, trying to figure out what's going on, and they're like, it's going to be us, even if we have to go against the Legion Envoy, or the head guy. And then you see all of the Wraiths hugging their dude, and he's back. And, yeah, like you said, oh, wait, what's happening here? Oh, yeah, the Lurk having to cloak again, and the Resolve being like, oh, you need to stop doing that, it's bad for you.
Yep.
And the Forgers have disappeared. I'm just like, trying to help people remember what's going on, because it's hard to listen to a podcast when you can't follow what's happening in the story as people are talking about it. Something okay. But yeah, the end is the fact that the Wraith fire is so powerful that it burns out the Artisan's eye. And to go from, at the beginning of this issue in this story, having him be this incredibly powerful character in a Wraith body, to choosing to give that body back, be back in his little scrawny body, and then he loses his eye, which is the source of all his power. It's like, wait, what? And then they basically see the symbol of Unicron on their world.
Pretty much, yeah.
And just being told that the Wraithiest symbol is a face as a final page is incredibly cool. Just, it has never been a symbol. It is a face. That's cool. All right, I'm getting the next issue. This was one where I really struggled with this issue. How did you feel about it?
This issue, I'm looking back on it and I'm thinking, how are we going to get our two main characters that we started with this second series, how are we going to get them to an end that is satisfactory for their story?
Yeah.
And what I find is that you have not necessarily the introduction of the Axial, because we got introduced to her in the last series, but the introduction to the Axial to these two new characters, and then you have all the Wraith stuff, the Artisan stuff, you have all that. It's a lot in issue 5. It's almost like it's a double comic because you have so much story, so much is going on.
I actually, I didn't struggle so much with issue 5. I struggled with issue 6.
Issue 6, okay.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's a lot. It's a lot in every single issue. But what the huge shift from the world that we've been used to all of a sudden we see basically this creepy red Wraithiest guy and get to know it upends our entire understanding of the universe.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like the rug was pulled out from under me, and I felt like I never quite got my bearings again. This is like my first time through, right? This is my experience my first time through.
Yeah.
And then it was helpful to have Livio's commentary and then to read the whole thing in one go and to get kind of a sense of it. But I still feel like at the end of this series, I feel confused and upended. Because it's very like Empire Strikes Back, where everybody's kind of going off in different directions at the end, and everything that we thought we managed is just kind of falling apart. And I felt really dissatisfied and confused and like I was missing something. So just in case there's anybody else who had that same experience, definitely go listen to Livio's commentary and get a sense of like what he's working towards. And it was much more coherent to me the second time through.
Yeah, and I've read this 2 times, and I followed the story, and I understood it, and all of that. I might have missed a few things here or there, but when we get to issue 6, and we're not going to go through we probably won't go through this whole thing because there's a lot to.
Yeah, because it's basically a double issue.
It pretty much is, yeah. But by the time in issue 6, when you have I don't know what page it would be for you in the single issue. It's page 181 in the trade for me. Yeah, when basically when it kind of gets to like turning into like the snow planet, the very top of the page is the Resolve and the Artisan, or the Resolve and the Axial kind of hugging each other, and then it switches to kind of like the snow. By that time, I was like, "Oh wait, what's going on here?" And we see the Artisan. Holy hell! What the? Oh God! And we actually see more like the Artisan, the Laborer. And they come up against the Wraithiest. Yikes, this guy. Yeah. We thought the Wraiths were bad again, going back to what I was saying earlier. Yes, there's bad shit in the world and people do bad things, but there's always some, like, you and I can agree that Megatron and Galvatron are the same guy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Megatron turns into Galvatron. Megatron was bad. Galvatron was much worse than Megatron because He didn't wait for another season to take all of Starscream's bullshit. You die in the movie, you dumbass. And then by the end of the movie, you have this giant planet transforming into a giant. So Galvatron was bad. Unicron is worse. Same thing here.
Yeah.
The Wraith.
Same thing.
Yeah. The Wraith Society and all of the Wraiths. That's bad. The Wraithiest guy is worse than all of that.
Yeah. I did find it as a concept really fascinating once I realized that it was literal. The concept that the Wraithiest is a force of corruption in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Wraiths are trying to prevent him, the Wraithiest, doing the cycle of let things evolve, then completely corrupt and destroy them, wait for a while, let a new civilization evolve, corrupt and destroy it. I'm like, wow, it is Unicron. But just, it's an interesting idea, something that just loves to watch the world burn and is just endlessly patient. Yeah, dang, the Wraithiest is creepy. But almost ludicrously creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very much ludicrously. He's pretty much ludicrous speed at this point.
Yeah. I wonder if in the next series we're going to find out that a lot of these assumptions that we're making are incomplete, though. You know, I imagine.
Maybe.
So.
I don't know.
I mean, this one just absolutely flips our understanding of this universe upside down, backwards, puts it in a bucket and shakes it around for 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Especially when the Wraithiest is talking to the laborer close to the end of the issue.
Yeah.
And the Wraithiest basically points at the kill lock on the laborer and basically burns it off. And the laborer just kind of smiles. The Wraithiest says, "You're now free of it, free of them and everyone. For the first time, make your own choices. What kind of life you want. Come with me, and you will never thirst again."
Yeah.
And the artisan says, "And me? Aren't you going to ask what I love?"
Yeah. And he's just like, "You're nothing.
Please say the word." Yeah, exactly. But again, it's about the choices that we make in our lives. It's about making decisions.
Yeah. This is the part I was mentioning at the beginning where I got really mad at the labor class for going off with the Wraithiest, and I'm really hoping that he's doing it to be in a position of knowledge and power, not because he's like, cool, free drinks forever. But it could go either way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it is really poignant that the kid decided to stay with the artisan and is like, you should stay too. And then the laborer is just like, I'm leaving. And it's a cool story. I think the time jump at the very end where you see sort of Jedi the kid.
Yep.
It threw me a little bit just emotionally.
Yeah, so this is interesting to me. So the kid on the last few pages. So I'm starting where the artisan says, "Why did you stay with me?"
Yeah.
The kid is gray with a red kill lock and green eyes. And he says, "The Wraith told me to trust the strong ones." And you see the kid kind of grimacing, and then the artisan puts his hand on him. And then you see...
It just kind of fades away into nothing.
It fades away into nothing, but we jump to this area of... And in the years since the disease of the Wraithiest's rule has now spread from this world to all others... The kid is... I assume this is a different kid.
It's a different kid, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the green kid with the blue eyes is a different kid.
Yeah.
And then we see that our kid is now this adult where he says, don't let any of that bother you. It's good to have questions and enjoy being a kid while you can, because, take it from me, it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the time jump is a little weird, but I like it because we're not going to be stuck with, and I'm not saying stuck to be negative, but we're not going to be stuck with a third volume of further adventures of our kid that we started with in the first volume. He's now grown up, he or she, or however, I forget.
I know, he looks a lot like the Axial and presents female.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I don't know
either.
I just don't know. So, I mean...
Either presents either female or wizard.
Pay no attention to that man behind the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, we leave off with this lesson of enjoy life while you can.
Yeah. I think this is why it bothers me.
Okay.
Because everyone departs like they're gonna go do missions, right?
Right. Yep.
Or especially the Wraith is like, I'm going to go do a mission. And I'm like, wait, where are you? Why are you leaving?
Yeah.
And then, so what makes me feel frustrated is this time jump shows that in the intervening time, which I'm imagining is, years, nothing has changed. And no one has done anything against the Wraithiest's power.
Right.
And I'm like, what were you guys doing all this time? Because we've spent the previous whole section of the series watching huge stuff happen in very short time. And so I have this sense that all of these characters can move the universe if they put their mind to it.
Yep.
And so the fact that it feels like they just gave up and went into hiding. And I find that disappointing and anticlimactic. And that, I think, is the main reason why I've really struggled with the ending of this series.
Yeah, it seems like they went into hiding, but didn't they face off with the Forgers? That was a battle, right? I'm not just imagining.
The Forgers, when they get to the Homeworld, it's already been destroyed. And what they learn is that the Forgers had been keeping the Wraithiest prisoner.
So the Wraithiest broke out and destroyed them all.
The Wraithiest got out. Either that or they let the Wraithiest out, because he does, gradually corrupt minds.
Right.
And yeah, so Homeworld's destroyed by him, and he's now free to, destroy this universe again.
Yeah.
And, all of the things that, because we've seen the Wraith Legion as this unstoppable destructive force, and they're always saying, yeah, we're here to purify, and you assume that they are just, zealots with this made-up creed, and then you learn that, no, they are actually trying to prevent this Wraithiest character who is bent on corruption and destruction of the universe.
Yeah.
They're trying to prevent his influence from getting out, and so they basically kill anyone who falls under the influence of the Wraithiest, which makes the whole conversation with the Wraithiest grandma in the previous, like, whoa, wait a minute, was she really corrupted, or is it just it messes with my brain? But I forget where I was going with this, but it's this huge thing, and no one has done anything to stop Unicron for 20 years,
40 years, yeah. It's okay. He's just a head now.
No, in this one, he's a bat person flying around.
I know, but I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh man, this was good.
Yeah.
And the fact that it says end at the bottom of the file. I'm like, okay, I know you have a third story in your head, Livio. I know you want to continue this universe, and I'm just waiting to see how you continue it. But this was really interesting.
It was.
This was really fun.
Challenging. It's not a story that just goes dun 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 dun, big fight, dun 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 dun, big revelation, dun 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 dun, bigger fight. It didn't have that kind of predictable structure.
Yeah, no. I mean, we always make allusions to we're looking at this, this is Optimus Prime or this is this like. But really, though, like, these characters are all original. They go through things that are more humanely hello. The fact that, they've lost people or they've whatever, it's like, I've lost people, everyone in our lives, we've all lost people at some point or another. Or the fact of going through a trauma of something and just, it's so good. I cannot recommend the first Kill Lock volume and then this one enough to everyone who is listening to the sound of my voice that reads comic books, because this is so good.
Nothing is like this.
No.
Nothing is like this visually. Nothing is like this story-wise.
Yeah, no.
It's really cool.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we're going to take a quick ad break. We're going to come back with ratings and close the show right after this.
We are Two Mikes, Too Furious, a podcast where we watch every episode of Transformers Animated and discuss from two different points of view. I'm Mike Seibert, and I've never watched Transformers Animated before, and guiding me on this journey is author Michael Andrews.
Hello! Yes, longtime Transformers Animated fan, serial rewatcher. I've seen it plenty of times.
So if you've never watched Transformers Animated but always wanted a reason to, now's your chance. Likewise, if you've binged the series several times, it's a great reason to watch through again with us. Because regardless if you're a seasoned vet or a newbie, there's something for every fan, because I ask questions. Why is Prowl such a dick?
So that he can be not a dick later, I think is the answer.
Subscribe to Two Mikes, Too Furious on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode.
Are we coming off furious enough? I feel like we're not living up to the... Are we supposed to be, like, more angry, more fired up? We're really in a good mood. We really enjoy talking to each other.
Hello, geeks and geekettes! Looking for a podcast that covers a vast array of topics? Then check out Altered Geek Unleashed, where we discuss our thoughts on this week's geeky news, tech, gaming, television shows, movies, cartoons, comics, and more. So, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks, every Friday on the Geekcast Radio Network.
Because the world needs another movie podcast.
The Geekcast Radio Network presents for your listening pleasure the Cinema Geek.
Hosted by Amanda, Kevin, Matt, and Dan.
Each week we dive headfirst in the landscape of movies as we discuss movie news, play movie games,
go in-depth on reviews,
and even have a top 10 countdown or two.
Also, don't miss our director retrospective series, where we review noted directors' movies film by film. Bottom line is, if you love movies and love podcasts, you need to experience the Cinema Geeks.
You can find us on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, or GeekCastRadio.com.
Like science fiction? Of course you do, or you wouldn't be listening to the Geekcast Radio Network. Well, the Mark 42's Universe podcast is an award-winning sci-fi radio show that's been around for over 10 years. We cover everything from Doctor Who to the MCU to pop culture and everything in between. A new show drops on Tuesday mornings on the GCRN website and all of the major podcast platforms. So listen to the Mark 42's Universe podcast from the universe and beyond.
You are receiving a transmission from the Rod Pod. Upload pending.
Stand by for soundtrack transfer.
I am Maggie.
And I am John.
And we are trapped, hurtling through space in a ship shaped like Rodimus's head.
The ship, for reasons we haven't been able to determine, contains the entire run of the IDW Transformers Phase 2 comic. which chronicle the events following the end of the war between the Autobots and Decepticons. So we figure we may as well read them all in order and report our findings to you. Stand by. Stand by.
Upload complete. Now.
The Rod Pod.
Look for us at marriedwcomics.libsyn.com, at iTunes, at Stitcher, or wherever good podcasts can be found.
So, till all are one.
Till all are one.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Patriot Prime here. I am a huge Generation 1 Transformers fan and Army combat vet. I also have my own YouTube channel, Patriot Prime Reviews, Facebook page, Patriot Prime Reviews, and Instagram page, also known as Patriot Prime Reviews. On my channel, I like to review Generation 1 Transformers, modern Transformers, the occasional third-party Transformer, and I am proud to announce that I am sponsored by ToyHacks.com, so you can always check my channel out for the newest Toy Hacks decal reviews. Once again, that is Patriot Prime Reviews on YouTube.
Hello, all sentient beings. Want the latest on everything going on in the Transformers multiverse? Check out the Transmissions Podcast Network. We've got weekly podcasts covering everything from Alpha Trion to Omega Supreme, from old school G1 all the way up to Cyberverse and beyond. And you don't want to miss Empire of Rust, the world's first and only Transformers live play role-playing game podcast. If you love Transformers, there's something for everyone at transmissionspodcast.com.
Discover a world of vintage and modern toys that's more than meets the eye with the Triple Takeover Toycast.
Hosted by toy writers and photographers Toybox Soapbox, 60 and TF Square 1, this informal and chilled out series of discussions cover everything from vintage Transformers to Mask, Diaclone, Microman and more, be it nostalgic or current.
Whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual robot enthusiast, all are welcome.
Triple Takeover Toycast.
July 2023, the Pacific Northwest will be transformed. Don't miss SCI-FI Northwest. Featuring special guest Paul Eiding, the voice of Perceptor. Panels hosted by Mike Seibert Radio Podcast. Robotics. Contests and trivia. Local artists and dealers. Exciting raffle prizes. A Transformers experience by the fans, for the fans. Get your own exclusive Generation Zero transforming action figure. This Cybertronian festival features the Bumblebee Camaro inspired by the films. July 8th at Kent Commons Community Center. Immerse yourself in SCI-FI Northwest. More at SCI-FestNW.com. 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 SCI-FestNW.com.
Hello there. I'm Paul Eiding. Now, some of you might know me from video games that I have voiced. Metal Gear Solid, Diablo, StarCraft, Warcraft, God of War, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, a whole bunch of video games. Or some of you might know me from Grandpa Max and Ben 10, or No Zone and Toxic Crusaders, or a bunch of other ones. Most importantly, I hope you know me from G1 Transformers. I'm the voice of Perceptor. Now, folks at SCI-FI Northwest, they know that, because I'm going to be joining everybody up there. Kent, Washington, July 8th. I'm looking forward to it. It's less than a month. 25 days, actually, but who's counting, huh? Listen, if you're in the area, I hope you can join us. I promise we'll have a good time. We'll be talking all things Transformers, or all things whatever you want to talk about. So join us, all right? July 8th, SCI-FI Northwest. See you there.
Receptor, can you locate a place to set down for repairs?
Gamma waves in this sector of space create marginal navigation probabilities. However, yes, I believe I can.
We are back here inside the pull bag with Ha-Hee Prime as we come to the end of the Kill Lock the Artisan Wraith. So, when's Volume 3, Livio?
Yeah, he's like, my hand is cramping. Let me draw. Just be patient. I need a drink.
Yeah, it's crazy. But this comic, wow.
Yeah.
This was great. We always talk about like how you would like somebody that's never read comics before, how you would introduce them to comic books, and most people will say like a classic Batman story or a classic Iron Man or Spider-Man or whatever. I'm like, no, here, read this.
Yeah, I agree.
You want a comic series
to like superhero stories, but I really connect to comics that approach things from kind of a messier or unexpected direction.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told you that I got into comics by reading issue 1 of the Max, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would recommend the first volume and this volume to anyone who wants to start reading comics. I would tell them, read this first. And then I would probably tell them to go read Sex Criminals.
Yeah, just, there's such we are lucky to live now. There is an amazing variety and quality of comics now.
Absolutely there is. Yeah. Yeah, and this is like if I was making my personal top 100 list of comics, this would easily be in the top 10.
Yeah.
Automatically in the top 10. Both this and
which is saying a lot.
Yeah, because it's so again, we always have these character tropes of, oh, this is the drunk, or this is this person, this is that, whatever. We live in a society where, the 80s kind of, gave us all these tropes, because there really were, there probably were tropes before the 80s, but let's face it.
They're up there.
In the last 40 years, the tropes and the character arcs and the character this and the character that, they've kind of really generated full blown from that decade and gone forward over the past, the 40 years that have, passed. But like, it's just such good storytelling, and the art. Oh my! As much as I would love to see Livio do interiors on every single because he does great Transformers art, his own original art for his original characters, his background color. Oh God, the man can do no wrong. Yes, there are a few hiccups in the story, like you were saying. There are a few times where you kind of felt like you lost it and whatever, but it still brings you back. You still find your way through the story, and it's just so damn good.
That's actually the reason why I bring up times where I do struggle or fall out of the story, because I feel like that's important to not just say, this is the best thing ever, but to just say, here's where I struggled. If nothing else, so that just in case Livio listens, he can be like, oh, okay, that's good to know. Yep. But just, and so that also anybody who's reading these with us cannot feel like a total idiot if they're having the experience of reading a comic and being like, what? I didn't understand that. Because everyone has that experience.
Yeah.
Comics are not like reading a novel where if you don't understand the meaning of a word, you go look it up. Yeah. And that's it. This is, you have to be visually literate with like understanding and parsing pictures and understanding and parsing very limited verbal information. So like just inferring a lot from a little bit. And because it's harnessing our imagination so much, that is what makes these comic books so powerful, is because it is allowing our minds to fill in the gaps rather than just spelling things out and saying, this is the parameters of the world, this sentence right here.
Yeah.
And I say that as a person who loves to read, but like this is yeah, I always say comics are what happens if you combine all the strengths of writing and all the strengths of movies and go, here you go. And also a little bit of holodeck.
Yeah, pretty much. There's so much you can do in the comic book landscape.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's had 2 6-issue series, so we've got 12 issues to this universe so far, and that is a lot. But he also uses it to a point where it's overflowing of story and art. Not in a bad way, but in a way where it's like, okay, I have this amount of whatever. Whereas in movies and TV shows, you have like movies, okay, generally, let's say 2 hours for a film. There's only so much you can fit into 2 hours.
Yeah.
But 12 issues of a comic that is usually, let's say, 20, 24, 28 pages per comic, you can fit a lot in there, especially reading it in trade form. Single issues are great when you want to read something immediately and learn about it, but like to actually enjoy the fullness of the story, that's my biggest thing. I want to read it from the beginning to the end. I don't want to have to wait 30 days.
I really think both formats are really valid. I compare them to, do you want to binge the whole series or do you want to watch it as it comes out every week?
Binge.
And different stories are better experienced in different ways. There are some comic series that should absolutely be binged. For instance, I read the Unicron stuff that came out at the end of the IDW thing, and I really wished that I had just waited and gotten that in trade, because I didn't stick with, like, I couldn't keep hold of the story when there was a month in between each issue.
Yeah.
A lot of times, though, I really enjoy experiencing things an issue at a time. I think that's actually part of, sorry, really quick side thing. I think that's part of why I struggled with issue 6 in this, because they, for a long time, were saying there are 7 issues to this series.
Yes.
And what happened was they combined the last 2 into issue 6. And so I got to the end and went, okay, now what's going to happen? And waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And I'm like, oh, crud, I think that was the end. Wait, what?
Yeah. I like that he was able to make issue 6 a double issue, because I don't know. If you get 8 issues, or if let's say you have a miniseries where it's anywhere from 5 to 6 issues, sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 10. I don't know what it is about me and my brain. I would rather have a series end on an even number of issues, not an odd number. It just weirds me out when things end on odd numbers. But again, so much story in issue 6, and it just went so well. And I don't know where he's going to take this universe now.
I will subscribe.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Most definitely. All right, 0 to 5. What are you going to give the Artisan Wraith?
5.
Yep, same here. As much as certain things did, like you were saying, certain things in the story, certain things I still overall enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the characters, and the art just blows anything any other negativity stuff out of it. Just destroys it because the art is so good.
I still can understand people who find his art illegible, because it is a little bit more difficult. Back to reading images, it can be difficult to parse, but it's a fun journey to go through once you get literate in it. What was I had a thing. I was going to say a thing. Oh, well, must not have been that important.
Yeah. So
I know what it was. Dang it, it is important. Okay. A thing Livio should be proud of is that in this sequel, he's taken, what was a very, very good, well-founded story, just grounded. The kill lock is really solid. And he takes it and he doesn't. So he manages to do the sequel thing where you just absolutely expand the crap out of the, formative story.
Right.
I mean, like I was saying, he just like takes the entire universe, expands it out massively, and then shakes it around. And yet it still feels under control, thought out, planned. You never feel like it is just absolutely spinning out, just kind of flying everywhere.
Yeah.
So that is a really, really good accomplishment on Livio's part.
Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. All right, folks, coming up, so we are by the time this releases, we are the second week, the end of June. Coming up, we've got Radiant Black Volume 2 Team Up with Joe Reed and myself. And then in July, Steve Megatron and I are going to do more Star Trek stuff. There's Radiant Black Volume 3. And then we will most likely be doing Autobotly August with TF Classics US Volumes 5, 6, and 7. Oh, God. Marvel Transformers. Ugh. But it is what it is. So that's what's coming up. Thank you for joining us inside the Pullbag. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send us email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Here are all the ways you can listen to us nowadays. Apple and Google Podcasts. Leave us reviews, please. Spotify and any other podcasting client you choose to use. Follow us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio, @The Pullbag for the show. I am @TFG1Mike. Are you still on Twitter, or did you give that up?
I'm still on Twitter. I just never actually look. Wherever you see Ha-Hee Prime, it's me. But I may not see what you type to me. Become
a fan on Facebook. So harsh. Hey, truth hurts, don't it?
I'm busy.
Yeah. Well, you got all the kids' stuff and all your stuff. Yeah, you're busy. Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network. You can also check out the Pullbag over there as well. Join us next time when we will be discussing Radiant Black Volume 2 Team Up with Joe Reed and myself. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
Ha-Hee Prime.
As always, make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
All right. Crinkle, crinkle, crinkle.
This part has been edited. You'll never know what was actually here.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pullbag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @thepullbag and @geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.